Oh yeah, arms and deception. Britain's role in the Biafra War. Okay guys, this opinion is written by Innocent Obiora. Welcome back to Prospect Channels TV. If you're just joining us for the first time, please kindly subscribe to this channel and don't forget to give us a thumbs up. According to Innocent Obiora, who wrote, okay, who wrote from New Jersey, I quote, I decided to publish it verbatim for its historical purpose, and given the fact that we had learned nothing from the past. If we have learned anything from the horrors of war, we will not be toiling with another potential war, particularly having the understanding that the colonial interest of the West in Africa is their economic interest. It is in their past colony interests that Africa is at war because a stable past independent Africa will deny them access to our rich natural resources of the continent, which they badly need to keep their economy alive. You wonder why Nigeria is having undeclared war in the north, in the northeast, the northwest, and the north central. North central Nigeria, okay. Why almost the entire share is at war with jihadists? What is the France connection with this crisis and why? The new colonial mindset of the West is not about civilizing Africa, but about looting Africans' natural mineral resources. This is not to say that Africa is the only target of this mindset of war. The world, as we know, it is a turmoil. Again, India and Pakistan are at each other's throats in Europe. Ukraine and Russia have been fighting for the past 3 years, and it does not appear the war will end anytime soon due to the numerous hatred the two leaders have for each other. Syria is still at war. The Middle East is at war with Israel for the first time. The Palestinian leaders and Lebanese governments are having a reality check, calling out the instigators by their deserved names, sons of dogs. The Biafra War fought between 1967 and 1970 was a brutal and devastating conflict that resulted in the death of up to 3 million people. It remains Africa's most ruthless war. The war was sparked by the southeastern eastern region of Nigeria, predominantly habitated by the Igbo people, declaring independence as the Republic of Biafra. The Nigerian federal government, led by Gowon Ojukwu, responded with force, determined to maintain the country's unity. During the war, the British government, led by Labour Prime Minister Harold Wilson, secretly armed and backed the Nigerian federal government. Declassified government documents reveal that Britain's primary motivation for supporting Nigeria was to protect its significant oil interests in the region. Share BP, a joint company partly owned by the British government, had substantial investment in Nigeria, particularly in the eastern region, which was rich in oil. The British government's support for Nigeria was not limited to diplomatic backing. The Britain supplied large quantities of arms to Nigeria, including millions of rounds of ammunition, hundreds of machine guns and grenades, thousands of mortar and artillery bombs, aircraft and armored personnel carriers. These supplies were massively stepped up while Wilson was telling Parliament that Britain was supplying arms to Nigeria at the same level as before. The British government's decision to supply arms to Nigeria was taken despite knowing that they were being used against civilians. The Nigerian government's barricade of Biafra led to severe starvation and humanitarian suffering, with pictures of starving and malnourished children going around the world. The British government's support for Nigeria was maintained despite widespread public and parliamentary pressure to stop arms exports to Nigeria. The British government policy was shaped by its desire to protect its oil interests and investment in Nigeria. The government believed that a federal military victory would provide the best hope for an early end to the fighting and would allow British oil companies to re-establish and expand their activities in Nigeria. The British government's prioritization of its economic interest over humanitarian concerns had devastating consequences for the people of Biafra. The war was marked by widespread human rights abuses, including indiscriminate airstrikes, massacres, and barricades that led to severe starvation and humanitarian suffering. The Nigerian government forces were accused of committing atrocities against civilians, including the massacre of Igbo males in the town of Asaba. The British government's support for Nigerians was maintained despite knowing about these atrocities. The British government's disinformation campaign was also a key aspect of its policy. The government told Parliament that Britain was supplying arms to Nigeria on the same basis as before the war, while secretly stepping up supplies. The government also engaged in a propaganda campaign to counter widespread public opposition to the Nigerian government. The British officials used the Nigerian government to convince the outside world that it was not engaged in genocide and to subject it backed a ceasefire and humanitarian access to Biafra, whereas this wasn't true. The war finally ended in January 1970, with the Nigerian government crushing the Biafran secessionists. The toll of the war was devastating, with up to 2 million people dead and many more displaced while suffering from hunger and disease. The British government's support for Nigeria during the Biafran War raises important questions about the role of economic interest in shaping foreign policy. The policy of the Biafra War continues to be felt today. The war had a profound impact on the people of Nigeria and the region, and its effects are still being felt in the ongoing struggles of the Igbo people for recognition and justice. The British government's role in the war is also a reminder of the complex and often fraught nature of international relations. The Igbo of the Southeast still nurse the feelings that the British hate them and want them enslaved in Nigeria. The British government has not helped matters. Even in the current time, almost all her intervention and aid target the North and South, the Southwest, in the expense of the Southeast. The British at a time established a secular office in Enugu, the capital of the Southeast region, only to have it closed down for no very possible reasons. That the British is not doing enough to ease the frustrating relationship between the Igbo, even after the war continues to create tension. In conclusion, the declassified documents reveal a shocking story of British complicit in the Biafran War, the Western government's secret arms supplies, and covert military assistance to Nigeria, despite knowing the devastating consequences for the people of Biafra, is a stark reminder of the brutal nature of realpolitik The British government's prioritization of the economic interests over humanitarian concerns is a lesson that should not be forgotten. The Biafran War is a reminder of the importance of considering the human cost of foreign policy decisions. The British government's actions during the war had devastating consequences for the people of Biafra, and its legacy continues to be felt today. As we reflect on the Biafra War, it is essential to consider the lessons of history and to prioritize human rights and humanitarian concerns in our foreign policy decisions. The role of oil in the Biafran War cannot be overstated. The British government's desire to protect its oil interest in Nigeria was a key driver of its policy during the war. The war highlights the complex and often fraught nature of international relations, particularly when it comes to natural resources. The Biafra War also raises important questions about the role of government in protecting human rights. The British government's prioritization of its economic interests over humanitarian concerns had devastating consequences for the people of Biafra. The war highlights the need for governments to prioritize human rights and humanitarian concerns in their foreign policy decisions. In the end, the Biafran War was a tragic and devastating conflict that had not to have occurred. Here it. Okay, guys, this is coming from Innocent Obiora. You see, what he just said, is he saying the right thing or not? Look at what is happening today. You will understand these people. See, look at Mazi Nnamdi Kanu matter, the Biafra agitators and everything happening. They keep mute, like they don't know what is happening. First of all, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, he's a citizen of Britain, but they have abandoned him because they don't want Biafra to come. That is just the simple truth. What are they telling us? Say these people, they are our main problem. So they pay me very well when I go here, when people go to talk, say, we are calling on international communities to come and help us. Who is helping you? You are calling someone who is killing you to help you. How? Well, I'm dropping it here. Kindly drop your comments below the comment section. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Share this video, make it go viral. Let Nigerians understand what is happening today in the Nigerian political landscape. Thank you. See you in my next video.